If your Dollar Tree happens to have a Dollar Tree Plus section, you've probably already seen these $5 planters. They're really large, they're thick, they're gonna be perfect, and I saw this one, picked it up, and thought it'd be great for a DIY. Another item from Dollar Tree you're gonna need for this DIY is a trowel. You're also going to need some spackling. Now, this is something you can pick up at Dollar Tree. I actually have it in a large tub from Lowe's. I find that I use it for a lot of projects, so it's easier for me to get it in a larger tub. Now, what you're gonna do is you're going to start by getting some spackling out on the back side of your trowel. Then you're gonna take your trowel and press it onto the side of your planter, pulling it down to create the shape of a petal. You're gonna start at the top and do a layer all the way around. Now, I did this on those natural lines that are formed in the shape of my planter. After I got all the way around, I came down and I did another layer in between the petals I had created. Now, since this was on an area that was kind of at a point, I wasn't able to do a full petal, so I kind of had these smaller petals in between my larger petals, but I like the way that that looked. Every 1 or 2 times that you create a petal, you're going to need to get more spackling on the back of your knife so that they create a really consistent look. Now, after I did the second layer, I went down to my next layer and continued to add petals until I got to the bottom. Now, as you get to the bottom, you may have to flip your pot upside down and add additional petals. Now, you want to let this dry completely overnight when you're done. When I came back in the next day, I sanded it down a little bit with some sandpaper along the edges. That way, if you have any rough edges or anything that looks like joint compound, it's gonna be completely taken care of with this sandpaper. This is really easy to do, so just do it lightly all around the edges. Now, you can leave it natural. I decided I wanted to paint mine. On the outside, I used a beige texture spray. And then on the inside, I just sprayed it with a light beige color. I wasn't sure if you were going to be able to see this once I put in a plant, but I wanted to make sure that I covered that just because you could see some of that spackling along the top. So once I had everything spray painted, I let that dry and I styled it in my house with a plant that I had from IKEA. Have you guys seen this trend where people are putting moss on wall art? I've been wanting to do this trend now for a few months and finally did for this video. So I picked up a canvas from Dollar Tree. They have these $3 ones in the plus section. Now, most of my moss I bought at Dollar Tree. They have honestly like 3 or 4 different varieties. I bought all of the moss that they had for this canvas. I also picked up an additional bag of moss from Michael's. So to start this out, I wanted to create kind of a cascading pattern with the moss that I bought at Michael's because it had these raised circles and I thought that would be kind of cool. So that's what I started doing. So I just took the moss in the bag and hot glued it to my piece, trying to make sure that there was no white still showing through. Next, to go along the edges, I wanted to section off different colored mosses. I used a Mod Podge and a foam brush and put the Mod Podge down all over my piece. Now, I was a little concerned if the Mod Podge was gonna hold everything down, so in some areas I actually added in hot glue as well as my Mod Podge. I do feel like the Mod Podge probably would have been okay on its own, but then I just went through and I started creating. I used sections of one colored moss, and then I would go in with another colored moss until I was happy with the way that it looked. So once I had the piece completely covered, I picked it up and leaned it against the wall so that I could really see where I had holes missing. So if there was a white piece, I used my hot glue and I added in more moss or more pieces. I also felt like on the edges I could add in more, so I added in more using hot glue to the edges. Once it was completely covered, I let it dry and then hung it up in my bedroom. For our next organization DIY, you're going to need to pick up one of these clear drawers from Dollar Tree as well as a set of curlers. So what you're going to do is pull out the drawer of the clear organizer. Then you're going to take one of your curlers and you're going to mark it with a Sharpie where you think it's going to fit snugly in the drawer. Then you use your scissors to cut the foam out, and then I used my wire cutters to cut the little white wire that's inside of the curler. Place it into your drawer and make sure it fits. You're gonna do that with the rest of your curlers, making sure they all fit into the container. I'm gonna remove the white piece from the end of my curlers, and then I'm gonna use a black Sharpie to paint the edge of my curlers. Since this was a clear drawer, I knew you were going to be able to see it. I bought another roll of the burlap that I was using earlier, and I'm gonna use that for this DIY. Since burlap is a little see-through, you wanna fold it over twice, otherwise you're gonna see the pink curlers inside. So just fold it over twice, and I'm going to cut it down. I'll cut off the excess. Next, I'm going to hot glue one of my curlers along the edge. I'll cut both of the edges off as well so that it fits nice and snug. And I'll wrap it to where I think it's gonna completely cover my curler, and then I'll hot glue it in place. Then I'm going to check and make sure that my curler is going to fit into my clear container. I'm gonna repeat those steps with all of the curlers. When you add all of these into your container, this is going to be a perfect organizer to put all of your rings in. Every time I head to Dollar Tree, I find something new in the crafters square. I found these wood sticks in a bag and I was like, these are so cool. Let's do something with them. So I think what I want to do is create a tray. So I got one of my large craft sticks. You can pick these up at Walmart. So to create my tray, I'm gonna add hot glue to the front part of my craft stick. I'm gonna start by staggering the pieces on the top. They're just being attached with the hot glue. I'll continue down my craft stick, adding in hot glue and staggering my pieces until I get to the very end of the craft stick. Now to put on top of these, I found these new clear containers at Dollar Tree. These are great. I'm gonna add in some black rocks. I feel like black rocks have a great high-end look, so I'll put those in the bottom of my clear container. I'm gonna add in a candle I got in a 4-pack from Walmart, and I'll place those on my tray. Here's a look at how those turned out. Did you know you can actually make a DIY sconce from materials you pick up at Dollar Tree? I've done this before on my channel. I'll kind of show you how that DIY turned out here. But when I was shopping at Dollar Tree, I came across these new canvases. I loved this one. I thought it was so pretty. And I thought, you know what? This would make a really cool sconce. So that's what we're gonna do today. So you're gonna need a few things from Dollar Tree. You're gonna need 2 of the napkin holders they sell. You're also going to need a placemat. Let's start with the placemat. Now the placemat kind of has this curved edge. So I started by creating a straight line on my placemat and cut that across so I had a nice straight edge. I'm gonna work on the canvas next, so I unwrapped it and I'm gonna start by removing all the staples on the back so I get a flat canvas piece. Now you're gonna take those 2 napkin holders and we need to attach them. So I had some black electrical tape. I'm gonna get 3 pieces of black electrical tape and I'll wrap the napkin holder together to secure them in place. Now we need to add our placemat to the front of our napkin holders. So you're gonna hot glue one side of the placemat to one side of your napkin holders. And then you're going to wrap it around, adding additional hot glue and hot gluing the other side in place. If you have any excess placemat, just cut that off. Now the bad part about my canvas was it's a little small. It didn't fit all the way to the sides of my placemat, but that's okay, I have a solution. With my canvas, I'm gonna cut off that black piece that's along the edges. and then I'm going to hot glue one side, wrap it around as tightly as possible, and hot glue the other side. Then I'm going to put hot glue around the top of the canvas and tuck that in on the top as well as the bottom. So I need something to cover the sides, so I'm gonna use that same black electrical tape, and I'm gonna cut off 2 pieces and wrap it around the side. You could do this same technique with additional fabric. You could also use something like black ribbon and hot glue that on the sides, but I was just going to use the tape that I already had. Now we're gonna turn our attention to the back of this sconce. So you need something so you can attach it to the wall. So I took just a craft stick I had, cut it in half, and I'm going to hot glue that to the back of my napkin holder, because when I go to hang this on the wall, I can add command strips to the back. It'll hang directly on the wall. Now let's talk puck lights. I have 2 choices for you guys. One is a push puck light that also comes with a remote. You could also use a motion sensor light. I have some of these as well. So I'm gonna link both options for you down in the description box. With your puck light, you wanna make sure it has the batteries in there. You're gonna add hot glue to the bottom because I find the hot glue works a little bit better than the sticky pieces that come with it. I just prefer to use the hot glue. So I'm gonna put hot glue on the bottom and then stick it onto my napkin holder. You'll attach this with command strips onto the wall, and here's how my sconce looks on my wall. Hey guys, I'm Liz and you're watching my second DIY channel where I post daily DIY videos. You may be familiar with my main channel, Liz Fenwick DIY, but I'm glad that you found me over here on my second channel. Make sure that you're subscribed so you just get notified every day when I post our daily DIY video.